Step number 2 is we have to define the issue. We've got to really be clear on what it is we're talking about. It's like setting an agenda, and you've all set agendas before for meetings. So this is a shorter part of the 5-step model because the purpose here is just to get clarity on what it is that's going to be talked about, or another way to look at that is the problem to be solved. So an example, I'm going to take you out of the workplace for a minute and look at a family situation. When I used to work with families in conflict, sometimes the step number 2, the issue to be solved, was curfew or chores. In workplaces, it might be the holiday schedule, staff meeting, our relationship. So it's the issue to be solved or discussed. Step number 3 is honestly where the richness happens in the conversation. This is probably the part of the conversation that's more uncomfortable for people. It definitely takes more time. But without doing a good job in stage 3, it's very hard to get to stage 4 solutions. So stage 3 is the conversation. This is where you're learning about the other person or people's perspectives, and you're sharing your own. And what you're listening for is what matters to people. What are their values that are coming up? What are the beliefs that they're sharing? What's important to them? What are they repeating? Because people will often repeat when they believe you haven't heard them, or when you haven't acknowledged that you've heard them. You're listening for clues. This is where the conversation happens. Think about it as discovery. You're learning about each person's perspective. You don't need to solve the issue at this stage. You simply need to build bridges to understanding. When you do a great job in stage 3 of this model, what happens is the solutions almost start to appear or almost start to become obvious. Now, step 4 is where we take what we've learned about the situation, the issue, each other, and we look at the options to solve the problem. I don't use the win-win approach to conflict resolution, and I'll tell you why. After mediating hundreds of cases with thousands of people in workplaces, I learned that very rarely was there anything that felt like a win-win. So I've come up with mostly okay, the agreement that we can all live with. That's what we're striving for. The agreement that we can live with, support, and get behind or commit to. So we brainstorm options and we pick that solution. And we test that solution to make sure it's one that you can commit to and I can commit to. And then we make sure that we're very clear on the walkaway plan. What comes next? What does this outcome look like in real life? You may want to talk at this point about what happens if things go sideways. Not that you want to be a Debbie Downer. It's about being an angel's advocate, really looking at, I know we've worked really hard to bridge some solutions here that both you and I can live with and we feel committed to. If something feels off, if something starts to slip sideways, what can you and I expect from each other? If something's not working well for you, what can I expect you're going to do? And hopefully the person says, I'm going to come and talk to you first. And then you're going to honestly share what you're going to do as well. This allows you to have a backup plan that instead of waiting for things to crash, people can come to each other sooner. So that's step 4. And step 5 is follow up. Before you wrap that conversation up, think about having a follow-up meeting. Could sound like this. How about we set a meeting next Tuesday for 20 minutes just to touch base and make sure things are still going okay? Would that work for you? And then follow up again. You're following up to make sure that A, the agreement is working, and B, to support the relationship. This is really important. So that's your 5-step model. You want to set the stage for success. Then you clearly define the issues or problems to be solved. Then you talk about them. You learn about each other's perspectives and how one another has been impacted. And using that information, step 4 is to build options, ideas, brainstorm, and then choose a solution. And step number 5 is to follow up. Thanks for listening in. It's Charmaine Hammond, your expert in communication, conflict resolution, and collaboration. You can learn more about me at charmainehammond.com.